Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining me, everybody, for another whiskey review. And today, always excited to review a new Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. And what we have here today is the latest batch, the C924. So this one is coming in at 129 proof, but with an 11-year age statement that catches a lot of people's eyes. So how does this rank amongst all ECBP releases I've ever had? Let's find out at the end. Thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. So for today, I am pulling out some stemware here. Now, I only pull out the stemware when I'm excited to try something and experiment with something here. I've never had this pour in this glass before, but I particularly enjoy this nose, which we'll hear about in a moment. So I wanted to do it in here just to see if it amplifies anything and brings any of the notes out that I'm expecting. But what we're going to get into today is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is the C924. Now, the controversial part of this is that all the Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs at one point were all 12-year age stated. They took the age statement from being like a straight 12-year off, and now it's variable. And it's been bouncing between, 11 years to 13 years ever since they did that. But now we are at the 11-year age statement. We'll see if they continue to trend downwards on that and the effect that it has on this blend. Now, while we know the youngest ages in the blend, which is the age statement, we don't know necessarily the oldest casks in the blend, which can always throw things out in a release like this. Now, we're going to go through this pour here, and we'll go through the nose, we'll go through the palate, we'll go through the tasting notes. I'll tell you my experience throughout there. And then at the very end, I'll give the final score. And I have actually scored a good amount of Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs. I think it's somewhere between 24 and 28 different batches that I have official scores down in our score spreadsheet. So I'll let you know where this one ranks relative to all those other batches. Some of those pirate batches are in there as well, at least two of them, batch 8 and batch 10. All right. Let's get into this one here. In terms of price, this was about $80, and got this one from Kelsey. So thank you, buddy, for hooking me up. Cheers, everybody. Let's get into this thing, and let's see if this glass brings out any other notes on the nose. Woo! Tell you right off the bat, lot more nuttiness than I was expecting. I described the nuttiness. It almost blends into the baking spice element of this one. A whole lot of nutmeg, I guess, is maybe more of the specific type of nuttiness on this one. Kind of sticking into that powdery zone. There's also quite a bit of baker's chocolate, and that mixes with the baking spices. And there is a bit of oak, but it is not as deep as a lot of other Elijah Craig batches. If I try to get behind that oak, it does brighten up quite a bit. Almost a layer of angel food cake. It's even got that type of cakiness and brightness to the back end of it. But that angel food cake is accompanied by a lot of custard, which we'll see if that continues to be a trend throughout this. Yeah, angel food cake custard. You know, there's even a little bit of like a strawberry sauce. It's not quite cherry, but it's in that realm. I'm going to go strawberry on this one. Like a strawberry reduction over the top of that angel food cake with the custard on the side. Drizzle of nutmeg, drizzle of the baker's chocolate. It's a pretty good nose right there. Did give the nose 2 thumbs up on this one. I'm very excited to go through this review. But 2 thumbs up on the nose. I Love this nose. That's the whole reason that I pulled out the tool of glass for this review, and it's living up to my expectations, and it's amplifying so much that I loved about it coming out of a Glen. Fabulous nose. Let's get into the taste. Up front, nice creamy mouthfeel. One disappointing aspect of this one is it is a little initially muted up front. So flavor wise, you get into that custard zone, maybe even like a natural vanilla ice cream. Those are kind of the initial flavors. Even like that natural vanilla ice cream, if you let it melt and sit out for a bit. I guess that's still kind of in the realm of a custard, but I think you can kind of get the nuance in between there. All right, let's go in for one more. Up front again, baker's chocolate emerges. Hints of that oak. Man, baking spices again. Lots of nutmeg. Getting lots of nutmeg here. The transition, though, to mid-palate is where this one begins to excite me as well. At least the volume on the flavors does escalate. Again, though, it's going to be matching what I said off the nose. So getting the oak, getting the baker's chocolate, getting the nutmeg and the baking spices. The same thing kind of plays through, though. Once again, images of like an angel food cake with a side of custard. The custard's probably got that nutmeg on it. There's a strawberry drizzle on top of the angel's food cake. It's some type of dessert like that, though it does have that oak wrapped around it, though. I don't want to lose track of that oak and that baker's chocolate. So there is a balance between the darkness and the lightness that's going on. But it's definitely brighter than I was expecting throughout this experience compared to a lot of ECBP batches. Let's get into the finish. By the time we get to the finish here, finish is actually my favorite part. Probably right next to the nose. I mean, the nose and the finish are my favorite parts. But all those flavors do continue forward, and it doesn't necessarily have a transition to other flavors. Just those flavors that I talked about mid-palate amplify, and a lot of it lingers. All right, one more sip. Man, the oak really comes through on the finish. Oak and custard. Those are going to be the dominant notes on the finish, even more so than the nutmeg. The nutmeg lingers a little bit on the tail end of the finish, which is what I'm getting now. Man, it's custard and nutmeg on top of it. That's what I continue to get over and over and over again. Even a bit of spiciness and pepper actually occurring on the back of the tongue on the finish throughout. But the finish, I mean, I'm still tasting custard now. It's pretty relentless and delicious. I am a sucker for a good custard note. All right, let's do one more sip, see if I see anything else there. On the finish, gave the finish 2 thumbs up, and I don't think I said it, but palate, I'm only going to give 1 thumbs up. One last sip. So where this sits with me, oh my gosh, that is a really delicious pour. Where this one sits with me, got some of that angel food cake I was talking about too. That angel food cake and the custard notes amongst all those baking spices, the baker's chocolate, the nutmeg, all those darker notes, the oak. The fact that those shine through is what I love. It doesn't have a whole lot of fruit going on. Maybe that strawberry sauce I can get a hint of every now and then, but for the most part, it is just this dance between those dark notes and those light notes. Now, the main flaw in this one, if I want to call it a flaw, it's just not very initially flavorful. So that's, I think, the one thing that does get me when it hits the front of the palate initially. It just doesn't seem like it has a whole lot going on until it then escalates. Man, I wish it could have filled out that note. But in the end, Where this one netted out for me was an 87 out of 100, which is a very strong score here on the channel. It's actually enough to be in a log jam right at the 10th position of my top 10. There's about 4 to 5 other bottles that are right there at 87. So this is in contention of being in our blind tournament at the end of the year. So I'm not going to underrate this ECBP. Now, amongst all the batches of ECBP that I have put official scores down on, it ranks 10th as well. So amongst all the batches, I'm actually putting this one 10th. And that's out of like 24 to 28. I'll have to look at the exact number there. But a high amount of batches. All of the ABC batches since 2017, I have put a score down on. I've also put some scores down on some pirate batches. So hopefully that puts that into perspective. I think for $80, this is a buy. I'd be even willing to pay 90, maybe even up to 95 for it. Keep me under 3 digits, though. I've already told Darrell and Kelsey immediately upon cracking this one that I want to find a backup for it. So that is actually where I stand on this one. I'm pretty impressed, and I am excited to see how this thing can do blind. Also compared this to C923 for those that are interested. And last year's C batch is ahead of this year's, but man, it was close. I think I gave last year's an 89 or a 90. So that is one of the batches that are ahead of this. But still, we are splitting hairs when we get this high up on it. This is just really good bourbon right here. Don't sleep on it. The only thing I can think of, if you have an aversion maybe to the nuttiness and the nutmeg, maybe, but I don't think it's that pronounced. I just love the custard note. So let me know what you think in the comments. What did you think of this pour? And man, am I happy to have at least one batch of ECBP this year that I liked, though I do plan to do a blind of all 3 batches just to confirm the statement that I just said. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Once again, let me know in the comments if you got any other questions, and we'll catch you on the next whiskey review. Goodbye, bye.